Hey, just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on where I was and what was going on when 9/11 happened. I remember I was in school. My husband and I were married. I was finishing up my degree, and I was also pregnant with our first child, our son Cameron. And I usually had the news on in the morning. It was usually Good Morning America. And as I was getting ready for school, they were wrapping up the broadcast, and I always timed it. When they would wrap up the broadcast was about when I needed to leave the house so I could get to school and get to class on time. And I remember instead of ending the broadcast, they were like, well, before we go, we've noticed that there's some smoke coming from one of the Twin Towers. And so they had a camera over there on the Twin Towers, and you could see the rise of the smoke. Still had no clue what was going on, and I just kind of watched it. I remember I had my book bag on, my purse was in my hands, ready to go. And as I sat there and we watched on live TV as the second plane hit the second tower. And it was almost mind-boggling. You know, when you're watching TV, you don't ever, especially news programs, it's never quiet. It was dead silent. Everybody was trying to process what they just saw, and it was shocking. It was really shocking. And once it set in what happened, I was like, oh my word. And I looked at the clock and I was like, okay, I've got to get to school. So I got in my car, I drove to school, and all of the TVs were on. Nobody was really in classes. We were all gathered around the TVs watching the news updates, and this was well before cell phones and everything else. So we were just gathered around watching. We were all in shock. And when we realized that this was an intentional attack, it was really kind of terrifying. And especially being a pregnant woman, I was like, what kind of world am I bringing my child into? It was scary. I remember we had some friends that we went and grabbed lunch with. We were all talking about it, and then we realized not only had this terror attack happened, but we live in a location where we're close to Savannah River nuclear site. We're in Aiken County. We're literally minutes from what we affectionately termed the bomb plant. And we wondered what was going to happen, because we knew there was an attack on the Pentagon, and we knew there was another plane that went down. And it was just, never would I have thought that we would have that mindset of we're under attack, what's next, what could happen. But it definitely changed my life. It changed the way you thought about things. But then I also saw some amazing things come out of it. And one of the things I noticed was how churches gathered together and just on a random night had prayer for our country. And it didn't matter red or yellow, black or white. We were all American, and we loved each other, and we took care of each other. And just the outpouring of love and compassion for each other, something I kind of wish we could get back. But those are my short reminiscings about 9/11.
My version of 9/11 was it was a typical day going to work. I was working at the Catawba Longhouse, and it just so happened that the Department of Defense was having a conference there that day, and my daughter called me screaming, go get my baby from the nursery and come home right now. And of course we had to wait until the Department of Defense got out of the building, and then because it's on government land, they shut the building down. And I got home, and my husband was sound asleep. He worked third shift, and I woke him up and I said, what are you doing asleep? He said, what do you mean? I said, the world's come to an end. And they cut the TV on and showed him what was going on. But that day will always be a memory. Never forget.